we have a number of delegations. We're just waiting for the queue for our live stream. And we are almost there. We're good? Okay. So council colleagues, of course, we're resuming our meeting that we convened earlier today. We commenced our meeting in closed, but we're now transitioning to open. And with that in mind, I'll just ask a council colleague to read the land acknowledgement one more time. Councillor Wilson, go ahead.
The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you very much. Council colleagues, as you know, we adopted our agenda early in the day before going into closed, so there's no need for that. I will ask, however, for disclosures of interest, and this is in regards to any declaration of perceived or real financial benefit or loss deriving from any item on the agenda this evening. Any declarations? Seeing none, we'll move on, and we're very excited tonight to be joined by an awesome group of Oxford on Rideau students who are here to talk about a video that they made around bike safety. So I know Mr. Patterson is here and Constable Holmes, and I believe a number of students are going to make a presentation to council. So we invite you to come down now so that you can get us started. You can come on down to this big desk in the middle of the room. And of course, council colleagues, we're going to hear from the students about bike safety. And I think then we're going to play the video. Is that the way this is working? I believe so. Okay. So there's an awesome video at the end, but first we're going to hear from the students. And Mr. Patterson's just getting everything set up. And this is a grade 3-4 class. Is that right, Mr. Patterson? Okay. Sounds good. So if you turn on that red button, and just for your students' sake, maybe I'll just have council or my council colleagues introduce themselves so that you know who they are. Councillor O'Sullivan, do you want to start?
Councillor Doreen O'Sullivan.
Deputy Mayor John Barclay.
I'm Mayor Nancy, also known as William's mom. Go.
Councillor Kristen Stracharyan.
Councillor Deb Wilson.
And we're also joined tonight by a number of senior staff who support council in making good decisions on behalf of the community. So maybe I'll start, Hillary, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hillary, the Director of Corporate Services.
Welcome, everybody. Fire Chief John Oakham.
Municipal Clerk Chloe Preston.
And it's the clerk who arranges for us to receive delegations like yours when people want to come and make presentations. Karen?
I'm the Chief Administrative Officer, Karen Dunlop.
Hi there, Mike Finley. I'm the Director of Public Works.
Hi, I'm Mark Guy. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture.
And Mark is the person who's responsible for a lot of the bike paths and sidewalks and multi-use pathways that you see going in alongside Mike Finley, who's our Director of Public Works. All right, Mr. Patterson, over to you.
In the fall, we decided that we wanted to learn about bike safety. We decided that we wanted to make a video to share what we learned with other students who like to bike. We asked Officer Holmes to come in and teach us proper bike safety. After Officer Holmes taught us all the information, we got into partners and started creating our own parts of the video. We put all our parts together to make one big video. And now it is complete with our information and edits. We hope that not only Oxford students get to see and use the video, but that all of North Grenville will get to see the video and learn to bike safely.
Excellent, thank you. And I think now we're going to play the video, is that right? And then we may ask some of the students questions. Okay, thank you. That was a very informative video and I loved all the demos. And what struck me is it is important to know what time you've left so that you know how long you're gone and to ensure that you always tell a parent or a caregiver where you're headed. My daughter was out for a bike ride yesterday. She's William's older sister and she didn't tell me what time she was going to come back. And then I had to worry a little bit. And then, of course, she showed up well before dark. But those are some good tips. So I'll just look to council colleagues. Any questions for this wonderful Oxford and Rideau class? Can I ask one of you, what was the thing that Constable Holmes really emphasized in terms of bike safety? Anybody want to answer that? What did you learn most? So if you can come to the mic and tell us, that would be awesome. Because otherwise we can't all hear you. That's why we use the mic.
He said that it was the reflectors.
The reflectors so that cars can see you. Absolutely. That's a very good point. I appreciate it that I think Constable Holmes, you mentioned that because bikes have wheels, they're considered to be kind of quasi vehicles and they have to be on the right-hand side of the road so that cars can see you. Anything else that you learned from Constable Holmes that you'd like to share that was particularly impactful? Yeah, come on down. You just have to speak into the mic. Thank you.
The helmets.
Yes, yes. And the video said you must wear a helmet until you're which age again?
16 and younger.
16 and younger. You have to have a helmet. Excellent. That's a really important point, actually. Anything else that was in the video that you'd like to emphasize? Yeah, please. You can both come. Yep.
You make sure you stop at the stop signs so that the cars know that you're stopping.
Yeah, that is such a good point. And sometimes it's easy to roll through stop signs because you think that no one's around, but stopping is really important because you have to kind of obey the rules of the road. Yeah, other answers?
How much air you have in your tire.
Yeah, because I can really slow you down or speed you up, eh? All right, keep them coming. What else?
Making sure your parents know where you are.
Absolutely. That's pretty key because a bike can take you pretty far fairly quickly. Much more efficient. Yeah, you want to come up? Yeah.
Making sure that your bike can use your brakes.
Yes. The braking is very key. I once had a bike that didn't have very good brakes. It's not fun. All right. All right. We'll take our last round of answers. Come on up.
To do hand signals.
Yes, I saw those in the video. And I think when you're turning right, is it right? Or do you have to go with the opposite hand? Right. So if you're going right, you put up your right hand. Is that how it goes? Left hand. Okay. See, I have to learn my hand signals. I have to watch the video again. All right. We'll take a few more answers. Go ahead. Yep.
Make sure your chain has a little bit of slack.
Yeah. So it doesn't snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring like important stuff like sunscreen and stuff, Band-Aids, or yeah. Elbow pads and knee pads.
Yeah. If you're getting used to biking, those things can be really helpful. And the sun is so hot these days. Sunscreen is really important. All right, Mr. Pattison, we'll take all the hands and then we're going to ask Constable Holmes a question, but let's get the answers from the students first. Other things that really we want to take away from that video that we want to remember. We've got the chain and the helmet and the brakes and the sunscreen and making sure your parents know where you are. And the reflectors, right. You can go ahead. All right, others? Before we ask, we put Constable Holmes on the spot?
How high your seat is.
Yes. Seat height is important. Yep.
On your tippy toes.
Yeah, that's right. So not having the seat so low or so high. All right, Mr. Patterson, any others? Yep. Of course, we're very impressed with the Oilers jersey. Thank you for wearing that. Go Oilers.
Always know what time it is.
Yes. 100%. Excellent. Any last answers? You're good? All right, Constable Holmes, come on over.
I'm looking to them for strength. I've never done this before.
Well, thank you so much for your partnership with Oxford and Rito. Quickly, in terms of bike safety in North Grenville, what's your general impression? Do you think people are obeying the rules of the road? Do you see a lot of kids, with awareness of some of the things that were in the video? What's your best advice to the community apart from what was relayed in the video?
I think the video touched on some very important rules of the road that are important to know because not all of our communities in North Grenville have specific trails to ride on. A lot of people do ride on the road. And I think the class did a very, very good job of emphasizing hand signals and making sure you have your helmet on and other safety things to consider when you are out on the road, just given how rural this community is. And I thought that they did a fantastic job with it. Overall, I think that bike safety is really good in the community. We do have a very active community, which is nice. And obviously we've won some awards in the past because of it. And I think that creating videos like this for some more public education is definitely moving in the right direction. And again, great job, class.
Yeah, thank you. And if there are other schools that want a similar tutorial or support from the OPP, is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always open to educating schools, youth, even adults on bike safety. I also do another presentation for Community Living North Grenville for some of the clients there that do use bikes on the road, just so everybody's aware of what all the rules are, just to make sure that everybody's safe, including the cyclist and the drivers using the road too.
Excellent, thank you. Well, we appreciate your support. And before I let Mr. Patterson and all of these lovely students go, should we get a photo, council? We'll have everyone come up here and we'll have council come out and we'll do a big photo to promote your video. Okay, amazing. That was awesome. We're very appreciative to Mr. Patterson's class. Of course, Oxford and Rideau has a very bright future in the community of North Granville, and it's wonderful to see that they're so engaged on so many important topics for their own safety and that of the community. So now we'll return to the order on the agenda. Oh, but I'm going to look for a mover and a seconder to receive the video. Councillor O'Sullivan, Deputy Mayor, thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Good, that carries. So next, council colleagues, you may see a number of lengthy declarations. We have three that we'll get out of the way before we recognize the other people in the audience who are here to speak, specifically to World Council on City Data and to NG Pride, as well as the NG Curling Club. So I'm going to invite council colleagues, so I don't have to read them all alone, to tackle some of the recommendations for declarations. And for Recreation and Parks Month, Councillor Sullivan, would you like to read the declaration, if you don't mind?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas in the municipality of North Grenville, we are fortunate to have a variety of recreation and parks systems providing countless recreational opportunities for residents and visitors from around the world. And whereas recreation enhances quality of life, balanced living and lifelong learning, helps people live happier and longer, develop skills and positive self-image in children and youth, develops creativity and builds healthy bodies and positive lifestyles. And whereas recreational participation builds family unity and social capital, strengthens volunteer and community development, enhances social interaction, creates community pride and vitality, and promotes sensitivity and understanding to cultural diversity. And whereas parks, open space, and trails provide active and passive outdoor recreational opportunities, help maintain clean air and water, and promote stewardship of the natural environment. And whereas recreation, therapeutic recreation, and leisure education are essential to the rehabilitation of individuals who have become ill or disabled or disadvantaged, or who have demonstrated antisocial behavior. And whereas the benefits provided by recreation programs, services and parks, and open space reduce healthcare and social service costs, serve to boost the economy, economic renewal and sustainability, enhance property values, attract new businesses, increase tourism, and curb employee absenteeism. And whereas all levels of government, the voluntary sector, and private enterprise throughout the province participate in the planning, development, and operation of recreation and parks programs, services, and facilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Ontario does hereby proclaim that June, which witnesses the greening of Ontario and serves as a significant gateway to family activities, has been designated as Recreation and Parks Month, which will annually recognize and celebrate the benefits derived year-round from quality public and private recreation and parks resources at the local, regional, and provincial levels. Therefore, the municipality of North Grenville, in recognition of the benefits and values of recreation and parks, do hereby designate the month of June as Parks and Recreation Month.
Okay, great. So I assume you'll move that, Councillor Sullivan, and then I'll look for a seconder, Councillor Wilson. Excellent, thank you. Any discussion in regards to this declaration? Maybe I can just ask Mr. Guy, is this a new initiative, or has this been underway for a while?
Thanks for the question, Madam Mayor. June and Parks and Recreation Month has been around for quite some time. I can recall when I was at the municipality of North Dundas that we did some things around June as Parks and Recreation Month. So it has been around for quite some time, and it's it's an initiative this year that we thought we should highlight within our Parks and Recreation Department and the municipality.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councilor Strachian?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Director Guy. Is this recommendation, is this wording from the province? Is this their sort of resolution that they've created that we've adopted, that we're looking to adopt here?
That's correct.
Okay, I would like to highlight one thing. It doesn't actually speak explicitly to mental health, but I think that it's probably important to emphasize that Parks and Recreation and the amenities and being physically active also helps in developing and maintaining positive mental health. I think it speaks to it in a roundabout way, but I think it's very important to be able to say that explicitly. So just wanted to raise that, please. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It is duly noted, and certainly the research increasingly highlights the value and benefits to one's mental health of physical activity. Anything else, council colleagues, before I call the vote? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Look forward to what the month has to offer. It's just around the corner. Now we have Accessibility Awareness Week. Councilor Wilson, do you have an interest in reading the Accessibility Awareness Week recommendation? Just gonna ask each councillor to read one respective declaration.
Around the table.
I'm going around the table. Thank you very much.
Whereas National Accessibility Week is a week for Canadians to promote inclusion and accessibility in our communities and workplaces, to celebrate our progress and to be inspired to further break down accessibility barriers. And whereas over 15% of Ontarians live with some form of a disability. As a result, there is a need for greater awareness, enhanced service delivery and opportunities for persons with disabilities. And whereas individuals with disabilities are impacted daily by barriers to information facilities, employment, transportation, and communication supports, therefore negatively challenging an individual's ability to fully participate in community life. And whereas accessibility and inclusion are essential for ensuring that all community members have equity in opportunities and the ability to fully participate in community life, and therefore be it resolved that the Corporation of the Municipality of North Grenville hereby proclaims May 26th to June 1st, 2024 as National Accessibility Week, and encourage everyone to support equality of access and opportunity for persons with disabilities in North Grenville.
Thank you. And I'll assume you'll move that? Councilor
will.
Wilson, looking for a seconder. Deputy Mayor, thank you. All right, any questions on this particular declaration? I'm not seeing anything. I think the clerk is doing a quick battery swap. I think she's good to go. I'll recognize Deputy Mayor.
Just a comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor. When people hear the word disabilities, they often think of physical disabilities, and I think I'd like to point out that it also includes people with developmental and intellectual disabilities as well. Thanks.
Thank you. It's an important note, so appreciate that. All right, Councilor Strachian?
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. I think as a general comment on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, one of the comments that has been made is that at one point, each of us will be disabled in one way or another, that it is not necessarily permanent disabilities as well. And so understanding that accessibility is something that we should all try to work towards for the benefit of all, because at one point or another, each of us needs help to be able to get around, to be able to access different facilities and so on. Thank you.
It's a very good point. Sometimes we think of certain mobility impairments as permanent when, in fact, in different ages and stages of life, we may be confronted with those barriers. It's a very good point. Anything else, colleagues? Seeing nothing, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Good. Thank you very much. And now to complete the circle, Deputy Mayor Barclay, would you like to read the declaration for Red Shirt Day, please?
Thank you. Whereas Red Shirt Day is an Easter Seals initiative first celebrated in 2019 and takes place during National Accessibility Week, observed starting the last Sunday of every May. And whereas Red Shirt Day is a day to wear red in solidarity and show support for persons and families living with disabilities. And whereas Red Shirt Day is a day to celebrate the achievements of people living with disabilities and to pledge our commitment to help create a fully accessible and inclusive society that values the contribution of people with disabilities in all aspects of life. And whereas disability, accessibility, and inclusion do not end with just a one-day annual event. And in order to make Canada a truly accessible and inclusive society and our community truly accessible, it requires constant year-round commitment and efforts of all Canadians to put it into practice. And whereas it is encouraged that residents in the community make a commitment, a pledge to educate and inform ourselves on issues related to disability and to do what we can to remove attitudinal and systematic barriers in schools, workplaces, and communities so that we can make Canada a truly accessible and inclusive place for people with all disabilities. And now therefore be it resolved that the municipality of North Grenville hereby proclaims Wednesday, May 29th, 2024 as Red Shirt Day in North Grenville and encourage all residents to wear red and display solidarity to show support for a fully accessible and inclusive community.
Thank you. So you'll move that, Deputy Mayor? A seconder, please. Councillor Chrétien, thank you. Any comments or questions on this one? I think this is the first time we're marking Red Shirt Day. Not sure if we've done it in the past. Ms. Preston?
I didn't find any reference to it in the past,
Okay.
but perhaps it was not proclaimed and still celebrated within the community.
All right, good. Thank you. So we will have to remember our red shirts on Wednesday, May 29th. Any other comments, colleagues? Seeing none, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor, please. Good. That carries. All right. So out of respect for the moms of school-aged children and parents of school-aged children in the room, I'm going to ask NG Pride to come up and do their delegation, and then we'll move on to the others. Thank you. We're glad you're here. All right. And if you just want to introduce yourselves for the record, we'd appreciate it. Just turn on that red button. You should be good to go. Awesome.
All right. I'm Sarah Jane Manning. I'm chair of North Grenville Pride. I'm joined here by our sister group and Mel Button.
Yeah, I'm Melissa Button, chair of the North Grenville Rainbow Youth Alliance.
So, and we're here to request, I think this is where I read the, whereas the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms recognizes sexual identity and sexual orientation as human rights issues, and whereas the 2S LGBTQIA+ community is growing in the municipality of North Grenville. And whereas on May 19th, 2020, the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of North Grenville established the month of June in perpetuity as 2S LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in the municipality of North Grenville. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the council arranged to fly the Pride Progress flag in consultation with the 2S LGBTQIA+ community among the flags at the municipal center for the month of June. And that the municipality of North Grenville actively support Pride Month activities and festivals during the month of June.
Thank you. So since we've read the declaration, I'll ask Councillor Chrétien, would you like to move this, please? Thank you. Seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, thank you. And of course, you do have a presentation, so maybe we'll call the question and then we'll go to the presentation. Okay. Any comments or questions at this stage? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Great, thank you. All right, and I think you have a quick presentation for us.
I do.
Okay.
Question being, who benefits in our community from this? And the answer to that is, of course, everybody benefits. It's a way of the municipality to display their dedication to human rights and having a diverse community. It also signals to people moving here, people who are bringing their businesses here, tourists, that we are a diverse and welcoming community and a safe space to be. It also shows our own people here, 2S LGBTQ plus IA persons to feel recognized and represented by the community of North Grenville. Also shows our parents and families of our youth here that they are not alone in the special challenges and safety concerns of raising their children here. We do have some community feedback. A newcomer to North Grenville reported that seeing the pride flag and that we had a pride parade here made them feel like this was a welcoming place. They're not part of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. Youth who do identify from area elementary and secondary schools have relayed to us that knowing that the flag was raised made them feel like someone represented them here and made them feel, quote unquote, less alone and actually part of the community. That being the community of North Grenville. Elementary school children who see themselves as allies are excited to celebrate the diversity of their school friends and feel proud, quote, feel proud we can support our friend. It's okay to be different and be friends. A family said they saw a change in the mental well-being of their child for the better after the flag raising and parade became a yearly event here. So it is affecting our community for the better. Not just the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. Affects everybody across. So why is this symbolic act in support of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community? Why does it matter? It's visibility and inclusivity. Flying the pride flag demonstrates a commitment to inclusivity and acceptance. And it sends a powerful message that our community embraces diversity and stands against discrimination. In rural areas, of which we represent, where visibility and allyship may be limited, raising that flag, raising the pride flag becomes even more crucial, showing that these communities are part of the broader movement for 2S LGBTQIA plus rights. There are challenges and controversies, of which I'm sure we've all heard, around flying the pride flag, and they're ongoing. There have been reports of pride flags being stolen, damaged, or burned across Canada. There are ongoing debates on transgender rights and gender-affirming care. This is still needed in 2024. Let that sit with us for a moment. 2S LGBTQIA plus persons in North Grenville are still at risk in the community from acts of hate speech in person, on internet, and within workplaces. Threats of violence and public harassment, and threats of all these whenever there is a public event. Friends, families, and allies have also faced threats and harassment. Across Canada, reports from police, media, and politicians have warned of the rising level of hate crimes and actions over 2023 and 2024. Raising the pride flag serves as a countermeasure against this trend. In conclusion, flying the pride flag is a visible expression of support, inclusivity, and solidarity within the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. It's a way to celebrate progress while acknowledging that the ongoing challenges faced by 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals and advocating for their rights. When we support one another, we thrive together. Now is time for the municipality to display its continued commitment to human rights, diversity, and inclusion in this community, to stand in support of the health, safety, and well-being of its members. This year, we invite the municipality to make a strong statement in support of 2S LGBTQ+ people in this community, to make the statement that the municipality does not condone the threats to safety, words of hate, harassment to 2S LGBTQ+ IA, community members, friends, and family. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else to add this stage? No? All right. I'll invite council colleagues for any questions, comments. Go ahead, Councillor Strachan.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Sarah, for being here tonight. I think many of us have seen some of the hate that has been spewed online towards many of your members, the organizing committee, a lot of the volunteers. We've seen it in the words that they've used, which I'm not even sure if it's worth repeating because I think it just sort of adds fuel to the fire. But I think what we need to be able to make as a statement is to say just that, is that we support the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, and that flying the flag, I think, is really the easiest and simplest way that we can do that. It does not absolve anybody from what they are saying and doing in the community. We saw, unfortunately, this weekend, yet another example of physical attack on members of our 2S LGBTQIA+ community and the organizers of these events. And I don't think that that should be condoned by anyone. You don't need to be gay to be able to support people who are. And I think that that is simply the message that needs to come across, is that the support can come in many different ways. And that a lot of that also comes from individuals who are hearing folks that are speaking inappropriately, spewing the hate that they have been and speaking out against it. So I applaud you for doing a lot of the hard work that you're doing. I know it is taking a mental and a physical toll on many of you to make these events happen. I've attended many of the events in this community and I've always had a great time. I have unabashedly and unashamedly brought my children to many of these events and we've all had a fantastic time and no regrets on any of that. So keep doing what you're doing and hopefully you will continue to gain support in this community for the work that you are doing. So thank you very much.
Yes. Just turn on your mic. And if we could just pull up the presentation, Chloe, with that last slide around the declarations, so I can see it again. Go ahead.
I just really want to point out that, you know, raising a flag is very important, but it's a very small piece. And, you know, the last line about making a statement, and not just making a statement, but choosing your words wisely is really, really important. You know, saying things like thinking it's a misunderstanding, thinking, or even just, I think. There's no misunderstanding here. It is intolerance. It is hate speech. It is intimidation. And unfortunately, 95% of it is towards myself. So I'm speaking from a very real, a very raw place. A massive thank you to Kristen for staying with me on the weekend after a physical altercation with one of the people. So I think a lot needs to change. And it needs to change now, because I will make it very clear, we are going to get hurt. We will get hurt. We will get possibly, you know what? People have been killed. And it's not the first time I've even been given that threat. You know what I mean? I've been threatened at my work. I've been threatened outside of here and nothing happens. Nothing changes. So we need strong allyship and we need people to speak up and speak strongly and not worry about the fallout of that. And that's all I really want to say. Thank you.
I think the request for the statement is extremely reasonable. I don't think we would tolerate threats to the safety of any member of our community. Certainly, that is 100% inclusive of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. So certainly in speaking with the media in the past, as I have in regards to some of the, I guess, increasing targeting and threats of violence and verbal abuse, wherever we can unequivocally express zero tolerance, I think we very much welcome that opportunity. I also know that we've just established a newly amalgamated police services board, and there may be an opportunity to at least highlight areas where perhaps the OPP can become better equipped to respond to incidents or threats. So that is something that I think demands further conversation. And I think we would absolutely welcome that. And we can work with Chloe, who is clerk for our police services board, to create the conditions for that conversation. I think it's time. I can see that there's definitely an intensity to the intimidation and the threats that is extremely real and very distressing. And wherever we can create the conditions for better support and community engagement, I think we certainly want to do that. I don't think anyone here thinks raising the flag solves anything, but it is an important symbolic gesture because it does allow for visibility. And I think it suggests that we're very open as a municipality, not just as a council, but as an organization, to what I think always needs to be a constant dialogue. It never really ends, right? You never really land permanently in one place on this. So we appreciate your time, and I was extremely disappointed to learn of the incidents. We know there was more than one on the weekend where there was some deliberate targeting, and that's for not just yourself, Melissa, but for the other resident that I heard from. Obviously, she was extremely distressed. She regards North Grenville as a relatively safe and welcoming community, as you know, and it's a very, very disruptive encounter and something I don't think she saw coming. So for sure, lots of work ahead. I don't know if council colleagues or yourselves have anything else you want to put on the table this evening. Okay, good. So the declaration was moved and seconded, and I'll call the vote. All in favor, please? Good. Okay. And certainly, maybe if we can try to find a way to at least have an initial discussion through the Police Services Board. I think our next meeting is not till July, is that right?
That is correct, Madam Mayor, and our detachment commander is away on training.
Okay.
But perhaps I could reach out to her colleague who's in her stead,
Great.
just to see if there's some initial conversations that we can have or some programs that we can work together to bring in for PSB to acknowledge and perhaps be a part of in collaboration.
Certainly in anticipation of Pride Month. That would be, I think, in order. Okay. Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on, and it's now my pleasure, I think, to welcome Ms. Jeannot for her presentation on World Council on City Data. And we have two colleagues virtually. I think Ms. Jeannot, you'll introduce them when they're online.
Yeah, I don't have an introduction, but Dr. McCartney and Ellie are online from the WCCD to give a presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor Peckford, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the WCCD, the World Council on City Data, we're so very pleased to join you here this evening. Next slide, please. ISO 37120, indicators for city services and quality of life, for which the municipality of North Grenville is receiving platinum certification today, is a global first. The WCCD led its development in the International Organization for Standardization in Geneva. Once we achieved publication of ISO 37120 in 2014, the WCCD began operationalizing this standard worldwide. The WCCD is now implementing this standard in over 40 countries around the world and across more than 100 cities, which is a very strong global network of data-driven cities, of which North Grenville is a very important member. And for the first time, this standard equips municipalities worldwide with globally standardized, globally comparable, and independently verified data through third-party verification. So in other words, this is the first time that municipalities across the globe are equipped with what we like to call apples to apples data for peer comparisons with other cities all across the globe. Next slide, please. So my congratulations on the municipality of North Grenville's WCCD ISO 37120 Platinum certification. This is bringing North Grenville to 3 years of data, this data continuity being so vital for planning and management across the city to see how you're moving the needle on so many important issues, including some of the safety issues and inclusion issues that we've just heard about in your declarations. This certification is a true demonstration of North Grenville's dedication to building high caliber data that informs planning and management across the city and drives sustainable development and prosperity into the future for your citizens. I would be remiss if I did not address at the outset here the incredible dedication of your staff at the municipality of North Grenville, especially the expertise of Hilary Jeannot and Ashley Cuthbert. Ashley Cuthbert, under the leadership of your CAO, Karen Dunlap. It's been just such a pleasure working with this team. The staff have been, I have to say, exemplary by all standards across all the cities that we work with globally. Hilary and Ashley have been just incredible and dedicated to this reporting. I think they've mastered it. Next slide, please. As a result of cities asking for further measurement on both of the rising agendas, just a little bit of background, we've now produced ISO 37122 indicators for smart cities and also indicators for resilient cities in a third standard. We led the development within ISO in Geneva of these standards over the last couple of years, and now cities are actually moving to be certified under all three. ISO 37122 enables cities to better plan for smart city development and measure and track year-over-year progress on the smart city agenda. This data being generated under this ISO standard also helps to inform a city's decision on the acquisition of smart city technologies and systems, which is so important to have that baseline of data and prepare for. Next slide, please. The other standard I mentioned is 37123. That's our third standard now coming out of ISO, indicators for resilient cities. This is to really build resilience through infrastructure in particular in cities and to better prepare for and recover from shocks and stresses. This was actually created in partnership with the United Nations. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, or UNDRR, that's the UN agency situated in Geneva, who is officially responsible for this rising global agenda on resilience. Next slide, please. I wanted to mention this partnership because the cities are stepping up to be certified under ISO 37123. We have built we've been nominated to be a core partner of the UN to help cities to become more resilient through data. And by being certified under ISO 37123, cities certified become a member of MCR 2030 at the highest level and join this important global conversation with the global platform in the UN and in New York. So next slide. Thank you. Yeah, between these three or across these three standards, there's a total of 252 now fully numeric key performance indicators under these same 19 themes. And this alignment of themes across the three standards ensures that cities can be consistent in their reporting and ensure efficiencies in doing so. So Vaughan and Toronto and many cities across Canada and many cities across the world are now working on this triple certification successfully. And there's efficiencies around these key themes, as I mentioned. The next slide, please. This, Mayor Peckford, I did mention to you when we spoke last year when I came to North Grenville that in the pipeline, we had this new ISO standard coming down the pipe, and it's in Geneva. It's on ESG, environmental, social, and governance indicators for cities. I just wanted to say and to be able to announce today that this has passed a unanimous vote in ISO, 70 countries voting on it. So I'm happy to say that it's off and running. We're just lining up cities now for ESG certification. And I know we spoke about it in terms of the region, the county level, possibly interested in this for their bond issuance. It's become a very important part of the green bonds, social bonds, et cetera, in that ecosystem of financing to help, basically to help to build resilient infrastructure and escalate both environmental, social, and good governance in the local, and using that data to actually show in that financial ecosystem that this is reliable data that can support the bond issuance. So I just wanted to mention to you, because I know we were going to elevate that conversation at some point, just to tell you that this is now off and running, and we're inviting cities across the world to be world premier cities on ESG. So again, if you would like to speak offline, I'm happy to renew that conversation. It's now successfully passed through the ISO votes of 70 countries voting over 3 different ballots. So we're done. So I just wanted to mention it to you, Mayor Peckford. Next slide, please. This is how North Grenville and other cities are really putting this data to work. And it's one thing to be certified every year, but it's how cities are using this data that we wanted to touch on. And these 6 graphics are really to show you some of the applications. So the one most obvious is economic development. Cities are using this to attract investment to their communities. Cities are using it for infrastructure investment to leverage both provincial and federal ministries of infrastructure to help to drive a data-informed ask, as we call it, and to tell stories about how that data is being used year over year. We know cities in Newfoundland, for example, who have leveraged senior levels of government around wastewater treatment facilities because the data showed that they were lacking in this area compared to other peer cities. So this is a second major use, is the infrastructure investment from senior levels of government. The third is around the localizing global agendas. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the Sendai framework of UNDRR. We've mapped all of the indicators to that to help municipalities consider how they're aligning with these global agendas on sustainability. And then the 2 next ones are the obvious ones around internal benchmarking to show year-over-year progress, and global benchmarking to see how your peer cities are doing. I know many mayors ask the question, how are we doing on safety relative to our peer cities in population size or GDP per capita? And this data helps to answer those questions for council. And the last way that cities are using it is around strategic planning. Strat planning, as you know, and I know because I'm a planner, often has quite lofty goals. We help cities to embed the data into their goals so that you can see how you're moving the needle on your strategic planning goals. So the year-over-year data is really very important for that. So I would like to now introduce my colleague, Eleanor Schoeffel, who joins me in celebrating this achievement of the Municipality of North Grenville certification this evening by showcasing a few data points where North Grenville truly excels. And then I will close this ceremony with the presentation of the North Grenville ISO certification. So over to you, Eleanor.
Great. Thank you, Patricia. Could we have the next slide, please? Good evening, Mayor Peckford, councillors, and all. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Today, I'll be showcasing some of the exceptional data points yielded from this year's certification, representing just a few of the over 90 KPIs reported by North Grenville as part of their WCCD ISO 37120 certification. You'll notice that each of the KPIs featured this evening has been aligned to North Grenville's strategic plan, as Patricia mentioned, showing progress toward achievement of the municipality's strategic goals. Next slide, please. First, we consider the kilometers of bicycle paths and lanes per 100,000 population. As mentioned in an earlier presentation, at 110 kilometers per 100,000 population, North Grenville is a leader in Canada, surpassing Halifax, Quebec City, Markham, Saskatoon, and others. Globally, North Grenville also leads and is among the top performers in our global network for this KPI. Next slide, please. Next, supporting North Grenville's strategic priority of balanced and environmentally sustainable growth, we can consider fine particulate matter concentration. High fine particulate matter concentration can contribute to negative health impacts. North Grenville's low concentration indicates good air quality, supporting healthy citizens. Next slide, please. North Grenville also boasts a low student-teacher ratio, meaning that primary school teachers are responsible for smaller class sizes, facilitating more time with each student. North Grenville is a leader in this respect across Ontario, Canada, and the globe. Next slide, please.
Just one sec, Ellie. We've lost some of the slides. We're just going to try to reopen it.
Okay, wonderful.
Can I ask, just in terms of the kilometers of bike paths and lanes,
Sure.
it notes that North Grenville has 110 kilometers of bike paths and lanes. So I'm assuming we're counting all of our trails throughout Ferguson Forest and Kimball campus. Would that be right, Ms. Janot?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So these are trails that are certainly suitable for certain kinds of biking, but available absolutely to the community in terms of public access.
Yes. So the indicator considers all bicycle paths and lanes, including multi-use trails.
Okay. And the per 100,000 population, so is that 110 kilometers the actual number? Is that the actual amount of kilometers of bike trail we would have? No.
So that would be normalized by 100,000th of the city's population. So the actual kilometers would be 20.
So 20 kilometers for our population, but when you scale up to 100,000, this is what it would represent. Is that right?
Exactly. So it's normalized by population. So North Grenville can compare to all cities.
Gotcha.
All sizes.
And that would be true of the air quality studies as well?
So the air quality would just be the concentration. So it's not normalized. So that would just be the raw number.
And North Grenville then sits at the lower end of the fine particulate matter, which is a positive indication. Is that right?
Exactly. So as you can see, the World Health Organization threshold is 5. So North Grenville is making great progress toward that.
And what is it you mentioned about the number 5? Could you repeat that, please?
Yes. So the World Health Organization recommended threshold for fine particulate matter is 5. So as you can see, North Grenville is making great progress toward that threshold.
Okay. But all these other communities listed here, both in Canada and in other parts of the world, haven't attained the standard of 5 either. Is that right? That's what I'm seeing?
Exactly. So as you can see, the majority are above North Grenville, meaning they have a much higher concentration.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I believe we're on the student-teacher ratio. Oh, wonderful. Yes. So I was just talking about North Grenville's low student-teacher ratio, meaning that primary school teachers are responsible for smaller class sizes, facilitating more time with each student. So North Grenville is a leader in this respect across Ontario, Canada, and the globe. Next slide, please. Next, also showcasing quality of life in North Grenville is average commute time, showing a steady decrease between the 2 census years. Next slide, please. As you can see, cultural events significantly increased across North Grenville's 3 years of certification, demonstrating the municipality's impressive COVID-19 recovery and vibrant cultural life. Next slide, please.
And if I could just go back, in terms of average commute time, is it commute time within the municipality itself?
Yes, so commutes originating within the municipality.
So this is the time it takes to transition from one place to another, whether it's for work, education, leisure, is that right?
So it's just to work. So it's the average commute time to work. So from home in North Grenville to the place of employment.
If in fact you work in North Grenville. which most
So
of our
to any place
population
of
does.
employment, it would be any resident of North Grenville who's reporting in the census.
Right. I only ask because the majority of our population works outside of North Grenville, so I was just curious to understand what this was isolating in terms of an experience. So
Yes,
it's
so
for
this would
those
capture
residents in
them.
North Grenville that are commuting to work, if you will, within North Grenville.
And outside of North Grenville. So any resident of North Grenville, their commute time would be captured here.
So, so the commuting time pertains to whether or not you're leaving the community for that commute or whether you're within North Grenville.
So whether
It's
your
n-
commute originates within North Grenville.
It's no matter where you work.
Oh, I see. So it's the point of origin is North Grenville. It's the amount of commuting time, no matter where you work. Understood. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Eleanor. Is this affected by COVID and the fact that more people are working from home, either hybrid now or totally working from home?
That's a great question. So this, if you're working from home, you wouldn't be considered in this count unless you actually have a commute time. So work from home wouldn't be considered here.
So does that explain the drop?
So
that's what-
It's only really 4 minutes, I guess. So it's not necessarily the number of people who are commuting, it's the average time for the people who do commute.
exactly.
Okay, thank you, understood.
Think
Great.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I guess my point was that if you're not commuting, then you have fewer people that are commuting overall. So I guess it's a little bit of a challenging one to get through because so many of us are now working from home and we have a large number of public servants who live in the community who would have been commuting to Ottawa. So I guess it's a few different factors that come into those numbers because 4 minutes, it doesn't seem like a lot. But then if you're discounting a whole sector of the population who no longer have to commute, so it gets a little bit confusing, but a decrease is good to see anyway.
Well, and I think the reality is now we have a lot of public servants who are doing hybrid, who are mandated back into the office some days, but not others. So how would their commuting time be accounted for if they're not commuting every day, but they're commuting on some days? And what we know is that the congestion into Ottawa has intensified over the last couple of years. So actually those individuals likely have longer commutes than they would have had a year ago or 2 years ago when there was lighter traffic. Is that something you can speak to, Eleanor? Like, would you
Sure.
be capturing the data for part-time commuters or just full-time commuters? I'm just curious to know what was the data set?
Yeah, these are some great questions. So I can only speak to my knowledge of the census data. This is from the Statistics Canada 2016 and 2021 censuses. And the way that they capture this number is they look at the respondents who are residents of North Grenville and the commutes they report. So my understanding is that folks who work from home, of course, there's not a lot of detailed information about this, but they would report the average commute time on the days that they do commute.
Yes, and I'll recognize Councillor Strachan, but I guess I'm having trouble, except that the average commute time is 32 minutes, given what we know of the realities of commuting into the city of Ottawa. But I also think this snapshot doesn't tell the story today, 3 years later, clearly, because commuting patterns have changed dramatically, and many people are now commuting much more than they would have in 2020 or 2021.
For sure, yeah, and certainly this data is for 2016 and 2021, so couldn't represent the status of it today.
Councillor Strachan, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I suppose, through you, Madam Mayor, I think that as a federal public servant, if I was responding to this in 2021, I would have stated my place of employment as being in Ottawa, even though in 2021, I wasn't commuting into Ottawa. We were in pretty much full shutdown. Nobody was going into the office, or very few. So I think that there's some challenges with the census data and how maybe the questions were asked. So I'll leave it at that. And we all know that at least for that sector of the population, the amount of days in the office are increasing now too. So those numbers are probably even further askew from 2021 data.
Okay, good. It's great feedback, Council. So thank you. All right, back to you, Eleanor.
Great. I think I was on higher education degrees. So the citizens of North Grenville are also among the highest educated in the WCCD's global network, with nearly 50,000 higher education degrees per 100,000 residents, supporting the municipality's strategic goal of diverse and resilient economic development. Next slide, please.
And the workforce data would also be census data?
The higher education degrees, yeah.
Okay.
The next KPI, North Grenville's final energy consumption of public buildings measured in gigajoules consumed per square meter, has seen a steady annual decrease in energy consumed. As public buildings are among the largest energy consumers in cities worldwide, this is an impressive annual trend. Next slide, please. North Grenville's high voter registration rate additionally supports efficient governance and service delivery, strategic pillar. Next slide, please. 5% of North Grenville's residents live under Canada's poverty line, less than half the national average of 11%. There's also been a steady decrease in the percentage of residents in poverty between census years, supporting North Grenville's strategic priority, a caring community. Next slide, please. Lastly, 86% of North Grenville's residents live in affordable housing, making the municipality a leader across Canada. It has been a pleasure to be with you all today to share some of North Grenville's exceptional data points. I will now turn it back to Patricia for the ceremonial part of today's presentation.
Thank you, Eleanor. On behalf of the WCCD, once again, Mayor Pecker, congratulations. Your leadership and commitment to this critical work is an example to cities across Canada and worldwide. Next slide. It's my pleasure to now award the municipality of North Grenville with WCCD's ISO 37120 Platinum certification for the reporting year 2023. Congratulations to the dedicated team at North Grenville and the tremendous partnership of our closest colleagues. As I mentioned, Hillary Janot and Ashley Cuthbert under the leadership of your CAO, Karen Dunlop. The municipality of North Grenville has showcased a commitment to a data-driven future for its citizens and innovative leadership in local governance. So on behalf of the WCCD at this time, I'd like to congratulate you and all of the municipality of North Grenville for your commitment to standardized and comparable city data. This standardized data will help to increase the quality of life for all citizens while driving evidence-based decision-making and data-driven solutions. The municipality of North Grenville stands out globally as a leader in working to create a sustainable, resilient, smart, and inclusive and prosperous future for all the residents of this great municipality. Last slide then. Congratulations once again. I wish you all a very good evening and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Council colleagues, anything else in regards to the presentation? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Ms. Janot. In the presentation, before I ask the question, thank you very much, Patricia and Eleanor. It's great to see all those data points listed. Makes me feel very proud of what we're doing here in the community. But it was mentioned in the presentation, it's one thing to look at the data and find out what the indicators reveal. It's another case of using the data. And I'm wondering, Ms. Janot, have we used any of this data for acquiring, it was mentioned, smart cities technology, or have we looked at the data in terms of supporting debentures, bonds? I'm not sure if we have. Can you speak to that?
Through your worship. So we, the smart cities that were mentioned in the presentation by Dr. McCartney, that's another certification. So we haven't delved into that yet, but we have used the data, as they mentioned, to tie it to our strategic plan to see if we're reaching some of our goals. And then I think it is a great idea that we should be connecting more with our grant analyst, Sue Smith, on some of this data and providing it for her records. She already does a lot of great work, but I definitely think this could help her more.
I
Yeah,
would
and-
also just add to Hillary's point about the ESG and the bond issuance. That is the newest standard that we're inviting cities to join and to become world premier cities. There's about 15 now standing up, from the largest city like Dubai down to the smallest community in Asia. So we have a whole range of municipalities that are stepping up on that new one. So time will tell. We're told by RBC and BMO and Scotiabank and all the banks who underwrite the bonds that the biggest gap and problem for municipal bonds issuance is the lack of credible data, trusted, ISO certified, globally comparable. So I can keep you posted on that. It's a rising agenda worldwide, but here in Canada, we're hearing it from the major banks. And I presented last month to the Bank of Canada. And it's just so valuable, this data, for environmental sustainability, socially inclusive municipalities, and sound governance to help to create a baseline for the bond issuance, but then also to fulfill the requirements of the financial, the asset managers and the pension funds, et cetera, down the pipeline in the bond issuance. They require year-over-year impact reports. So I can keep you posted on that. It would be really wonderful for North Grenville to become part of this. And I can certainly keep you in the loop on how this is evolving. And if you're interested, please let me know and we can include you in this first global cohort. It's a very valuable set of data for the bond market and the ESG ecosystem as we know it around the world.
Yeah, and Patricia, just before we thank you for your time and bring this to a close, can you describe an instance where a municipality has already participated in the bond market in the way you describe? I'm just having difficulty painting that picture.
Sure. I mean, Toronto's the obvious example because they've been doing this for quite a few years now. The Joe Penichetti, the former CAO, and the CFO, Heather, she came to us early on and said, look, we're issuing bonds. We're issuing green bonds for our waterfront development. We're issuing an ecosystem restoration of the Don. We're issuing social bonds for affordable housing to build more and quicker. We're issuing sustainability bonds for some of our also some of the waterfront development, and also for transit, helping their capital bonds. So helping to support their capital plan. So they issued, I think it's about $2 billion now in bonds, and smaller municipalities are starting to become interested in their first round of issuance that some have not issued yet. So we're in conversation with some municipalities that are just starting to think about it. But in any case, whether they're issuing yet or want to be issuing in the future, the ESG profile that can go up on a website that shows that you have adopted a culture of ESG helps a lot with investors thinking about moving. We know in a couple of smaller municipalities, attracting investors to situate their new companies. One is a large industry in a small city in Manitoba, for example. This ESG profile becomes very important. Companies are asking, are you building a culture of environmentally sustainable, socially inclusive, and sound governance? How can you show this? How can you showcase this? So some of the regions, like York region and Peel region and other regions that we're talking to as well, they're very interested in stepping up to start issuing bonds, but they want to get this first set of data as a baseline so that they can show how they're moving the needle on ESG and impact reports. Because the banks and the pension funds, et cetera, funding these bonds in the municipal debenture market, they want to see year-over-year impact. So if they're investing, okay, so you're putting in a transit, 2 extra transit stops, or you're putting in more bike paths. Let's see how you're moving the needle on healthy communities and commute times, et cetera. So those are the kinds of data points that they're interested in. So we've built the standard, and it's now, it's almost there. It's about to be published any day now in Geneva. So we're very happy to announce that to you.
Okay, thank you. That's additional context that I think we can certainly keep in mind. All
Yeah.
right. If there are no other questions, council colleagues, I know we've kept the curling club waiting a long time. I'm going to ask that we receive the report. Is that, all right, so mover and a seconder, please, to receive the report. Council Sullivan, Deputy Mayor, thank you. And I will call the question. All in favor, please. Thank you. That carries. And thank you once again to the WCCD team, Patricia and Eleanor, and of course, Hillary and Ashley for their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations on the certification once again.
Much appreciated. All right. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to welcome the North Grenville Curling Club who have been, do we have folks here? Ah, great. Excellent. Welcome. And just for the record, if you could introduce yourselves.
Yeah, good evening. I do have a few colleagues behind me from the curling club, but
Okay.
my name is Sean Barabee and I'm the 2023-2024 club president for the North Grenville Curling Club. And the second person in my household tonight to present to you, as my daughter was here earlier for the Oxford class. That's why they're still here.
Well,
So
that's great. Maybe that's a first. Is your daughter still with you?
I think she's in the top row.
Oh, hello. Excellent. Daughter supporting father and then father supporting daughter? Yeah,
We were wondering who was more nervous coming into this, so
I think you might be.
yeah, well, she did great.
She was awesome. All right. Well, we're happy to have you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, senior staff. Again, I'm just here to touch on what the North Grenville Curling Club has been up to. We are going to chat a little bit about our upcoming lease. I don't know if I have control over the slides or if I just say next, I just give you a nod. Thank you. So our intention here this evening, which you'll see up there is a bit of an outline of the presentation, is to give you an overview of what the curling club has been up to and, you know, a lot to do with our involvement within the community. As you're aware, our lease agreement is up for renewal at the end of the month, and I believe our guy will speak to that when I'm done this evening. So we thought it was appropriate to come here and give you a quick update and highlight you know, what our great group of volunteer members have been doing to grow the club within the community. Next slide, please. So the goal of the curling club has remained unchanged since, you know, the first draw took place in 2005. The objectives to provide the NG community with a hub for fun, fitness, and friends. It provides a welcoming social atmosphere. And curling is a sport that young and old, all abilities can participate both on the ice and off the ice. NGCC is currently run 100% on volunteer basis of its members. And to ensure that the club stays sustainable, it takes about 7,000 hours of volunteer time each year to see that happen. Next slide, please. So this slide here gives you a bit of a snapshot of our membership over the past few years. So you could clearly see a drop coming out of the pandemic, and the positive thing coming out of this, well, there's 2 points here. One, we have seen the rebound from the drop in membership post-COVID. The other stat, which I find interesting and I think great for the community, is that there's 100 new curling members to the club in the past 3 years combined. So, you know, each year we're averaging 30 to 40 new members to the club. So that means that they have never previously been part of the curling club. You know, so that speaks to the growth of the community, and I think also to the work that our curling club members are doing to try and advocate and build the sport within the community. You know, we do anticipate to, you know, see modest growth in membership, hopefully in the years to come. A facility like we have here in North Grenville, it could hold 500 members based on the size of the facility and the amount of sheets that are available for curling play. The next slide, please. So here's just a little bit of a snapshot of what our operating budget looks like year to year. This was the past year's budget. So it's really a high level, and from an income and operation income, the majority of that comes through membership fees, right? If we're 350, 360 members, the bulk of that comes from those fees. The second biggest contributor is our bar sales. It is, a social hub, so it does provide a great way to provide income to the club. From a operational expense, it really comes down to utilities. I'm sure everyone's aware on what it takes to keep hockey rinks going here in this particular facility. So it's there's a high utility cost and maintenance, repair, service work that goes along with keeping these facilities running. Next slide, please. A bit of an outline of the programs and events that the curling club offers. I mean, the facility is being put to great use as far as we're concerned. During the fall and winter months, the building's strictly being utilized for curling activities. That includes a wide array of leagues, which allow us to bring people from the surrounding areas into town to participate and showcase our club. We also host competitive bond spiels, fun in-house bond spiels, which do allow certain community members that aren't necessarily club members the opportunity to try curling and maybe join in with a friend that is part of the club. We also provide facility rentals, which range from private curling events to off-ice stuff like fundraisers, not-for-profit group rentals in our banquet space upstairs. Next slide. The next biggest thing besides curling is pickleball. So we've found a way with the hard work of a few particular curling club members to utilize the facility in the spring and summer months. And it's provided an ideal location for pickleball. So the NG Pickleball Club is operating 7 days a week at this point, and they have over 250 members. So it's a great use of the facility during the off season and a perfect option for pickleball within the community. Next slide, please. And the North Grenville Curling Club is all about community support. We work hard to support the local community and economy. We also look for opportunities to gain some exposure to curling within the community. So we have a lot of great business relationships with local vendors, suppliers. They support us through their advertising and sponsorship options, and we support them through our purchases, recurring service agreements, and all year visibility within the building for their advertising. Next slide, please. But the most significant challenge we're facing right now, and probably for all facilities like this, is the condition of some of the major capital equipment, specifically in our case, the ice making equipment. Some of the major components that we have currently are at their end of life cycle expectancy. Although they are in working condition right now, we are proactively looking to deal with some of these items before they all hit us at one time and it becomes a big hurdle for us. So we're working alongside the North Grenville facility superintendent to assess and develop a program to be able to take a strategic approach to the replacement of this equipment. Next slide, please. So a bit of an outlook on, what we're doing in there in terms of, managing what it takes to keep a curling facility like this running. On top of the major ice expenses or ice making expenses, there are numerous other items that are just part of maintaining facility in a building like this. So before the year end for 2024, we will be replacing our reverse osmosis system, which provides the quality and quantity of water needed to maintain the world-class ice that NGCC is known for. We're also completing our exterior door replacement program. So that was funded through the 2023 NG Community Grant. So thank you for that again. But it's seeing a well-needed upgrade to the exterior doors and all the emergency egresses within the building. We're also actively looking for grant applications and applying for grant applications, and we're currently awaiting the results of the Ontario Trillium Foundation grant, where we've requested $185,000 to take on some of this major equipment replacements for a project totaling $258,000. So we know that we need to be able to manage this and come to the table with, some of our own funds to, show these grants that we're actively planning and looking for ways to keep these facilities going in the community. So pending the results of the Trillium grant application, we actively need to plan for, assuming that our grant application this year is not successful, we need to align ourselves to find, we can't wait, I guess is what I'm getting at for a grant. We need to plan accordingly. And that's where, our building reserve fund with the municipality comes into play and how we are managing our cash. So we for sure see the use of that building reserve fund to be, actively drawn upon over the next 3 to 5 years as we go through some of this major capital replacement. Next slide, please. So, for the next short-term 5-year plan for the North Grenville Curling Club, we'll continue to build on our presence within the community. Our community involvement will be in parallel with the work we're doing to ensure that the building's major assets are replaced and managed as needed. With the introduction of pickleball, the building is being used at this point 7 days a week, 12 months a year, which I think is a great step for that facility. And our dedicated membership is looking to grow upon this plan. We'll continue to explore all known grant opportunities, which will assist us in some financial support and relief for some of the ongoing needs. Next slide, please. So in closing, on behalf of our membership, I'd like to extend our sincere thanks and ongoing support we receive from council, as well as all levels of the municipality's team. It's a positive working relationship, and we can continue to grow on the positive impact within the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. So a couple of questions that come to mind for me, and I've spent a lot of time in the Spencerville arena this past year, where both my son and daughter, who are Kemptville minor hockey players, have practiced extensively. It's North Grenville's third ice pad, clearly, apart from their curling club, which is not hockey focused. But curious, is our curling club facility the same vintage as the Spencerville arena? Are these like 1967 era rings?
Yeah, ours was 65, I believe,
Okay.
in town.
Okay.
If I'm-
All right. So the life expectancy and the sort of end of life cycle that you spoke of in terms of fundamental aspects of just keeping ice operational. When you say end of life, what does that mean?
So this equipment has been replaced through the time within when it was a hockey rink.
Right.
So some of this major equipment would be good for, let's say, 20, 25 years. So it's not something that, you need to deal with all that often, at least from my perspective. But this equipment becomes, well, some of it's a life safety issue when it comes to you're dealing with ammonia and refrigerants. So there's definitely a need to not wait for a problem, to proactively deal with it. So that's a big part of it. And the other is if something were to fail during operation, then you're done for the season, right? So it's very much, we use these life cycle expectancies to kind of guide you through your decision making. And, again, not waiting for something to happen, but to say, okay, we've got these 10 pieces of equipment of varying degrees of cost and plan accordingly and try and just keep that cycle going of maintaining.
And Chloe, could you just put up the slide that itemizes the number of items that you have your eye on. You spoke of a Trillium grant application. I assume that the Trillium grant application would have received a municipal endorsement, or
It
was
did.
it self-initiated?
No, well, it's self-initiated, but we did reach out to your team for support and endorsement.
Okay. So that obviously is extremely helpful, right, when it comes to Trillium applications. And you said you applied for over 200,000?
185,000
185.
of 258,000.
Okay. I see. So of this list, you applied for what would be the maximum amount under the Trillium grant, is that right?
Correct, yeah. And this
Okay.
is our second year in a row applying for the same
Okay,
same type of equipment, same projects.
I see. So Mr. Guy, did you want to add to that? Maybe Mike will lend you his if it works better? Nope? All right. Okay. Can I ask while we're just sorting that out? So pickleball is amazing. We're thrilled because the demand for pickleball is quite strong. So to see the partnership with the curling club, I think is wonderful. And I assume that they lease it, they're sort of subleasing from you. Is that how it would work?
Correct. Currently, it's like a rental agreement where it's something that's been created by club members who are taking it on. So they're essentially, donating their time and energy and
Okay,
and the revenue from the pickleball and sending it back into the curling club.
right. So it's a modest revenue generator, I would assume? Is that a fair statement?
If they paid as much as curlers do, we'd be doing really well. We wouldn't be here, but
That was my question.
no, but it has grown exponentially. Like, and I want to say it's been going on 3 years now, and this year it has taken off quite well. So it's a great use of it. Other than having that place closed up, it's open 7 days now.
Gotcha. Okay. So then really fundamentally, the assistance of the Trillium, if the Trillium application was approved, it would, I presume, ease some of the stress in terms of the number of items on this list and the cost attached to a variety of them.
For sure. 100%. Like, I mean, we're looking at if we were to do what's up on that screen over the next 3 to 4 years, we're looking at on average probably $100,000 a year in terms of, outlay to take care of this. Every year that goes by, things become a little bit more expensive as well. So it would definitely ease the major projects. I think that just becomes the start though as well, right? Like to maintain these facilities, there's always improvements in terms of heating, ventilation, some of the other things we've listed here that, they're not high priority items, but to, make this facility stand out compared to other curling rinks around. There's lots of good ideas that we have that if we can manage them, we'd like to put in place.
Good. Mr. Guy, did you want to add?
I just wanted to, thanks, Madam Mayor. Just to your question about the end of life, useful life of some of the pieces of equipment. Our team does work with the curling club and Mr. Barabee. It's part of our asset management program. So we've done condition assessments on the equipment at the curling club. And similar to what we have here with our refrigeration system, we use Simco refrigeration for our annual maintenance. I believe the curling club uses AC Mechanical. So they rely on AC Mechanical's expertise in helping them determine when equipment is end of its useful life and needs to be replaced. So those are some of the factors that go into when equipment is, they're being told you should plan to replace this equipment. I just wanted to make that point.
Great, thank you. And second question, if the application last year with Trillium was unsuccessful, were there learnings from that application that were incorporated into this year's application?
Yes, there was. So we did get a debrief with the Trillium Foundation, and it was actually extremely positive. We went from, being pretty deflated with the rejection to saying you guys you're this close, just apply again. Now, they changed the grant application. It's not necessarily the same year to year, but we're optimistic. I mean, but it all comes down to how many people apply, and I understand this particular catchment, it is quite a high demand in terms of the applicants that are out there. So we'll have word of that this summer. It's July, August is when they'll publish the results.
Okay, great. So we'll recognize Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Sullivan. Any other hands over here? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Mr. Barubi. You said the application was endorsed by the municipality. Have you brought it to the attention of our MPP, Steve Clark? Is he aware that you've applied?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, I might be misspeaking by that, but I believe the only attachment that we did put with that application was from the municipality in terms of a letter of endorsement.
It wouldn't hurt to send him an email.
No, that's great. That's definitely a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to express kudos to the current board of the Curling Club and previous boards for being very proactive in terms of planning ahead and asset management and considering infrastructure needs. I'm sure that you've had, I was the treasurer of the Metcalfe Curling Club at one point, so I understand the extensive costs of jet ice or Simcoe or whatever, and particularly hydro. And so with climate change, it's definitely warmer in September, October than it used to be. So I'm sure the costs too of putting the ice in have risen, as well as keeping the ice into the beginning of April. So kudos to everything that you've done to manage to keep things balanced. On one of your slides, you talked about the membership, and I noticed that the youth membership has reduced by like half, from 60 something to 30. Is the school program still going on? Like I'm just curious. When I was in Metcalfe, the high school had a very active curling club, curling group within the high school, and the club was right across the street. But we have two high schools here, and I don't know that they're using our curling club as much as they could. Did the youth programs with the primary schools still go on, where they come and are introduced to the sport on a regular basis?
So those haven't gone on for a few years. Definitely not since my time being involved at the board level. So the stats we're looking at there, and I would have to double check this and maybe double back to you all on the numbers, but the 68 and the 61 there, I don't believe would be representing that's the school programs. I guess it's possible that those school programs generated more enrollment. I guess that is a possibility. I can tell you that we do have good numbers with the Little Rocks, it's called. So that's U12. Not so much U15, U18. It's been a couple of years of just a half a dozen to 8 members. So, I mean, the school programs are volunteer run, they're daytime run. It takes definitely it can be done, as you know, it's been done before. I think, it's possible that the people that were leading that charge previously, that just hasn't continued on. So it's something as a curling club we could look at doing to try and get the youth numbers up, among other ways. We spent some time at the Winter Carnival this past year and had an open house and a try curling event. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I want to say there was 50 youth that came on that day and were able to get on the ice and try curling. So, through school programs and other means, we definitely need to find a way to, grow that younger membership within the program and find the people to, teach them the way.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had was, did you get any help on grant writing from our professional within the municipality? I believe that would be available to the club.
We did not this past application, no. I feel like we may have sent our first application through from the previous year, but this recent time, it was done in-house through what we learned and through the debriefing. But we will keep that in mind for future applications.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea, and maybe Director Guy can help you, point you in the right direction for that.
That'd be wonderful.
Hopefully this one will be successful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, one last question. The Fall Classic, Ladies Fall Classic, which is a real big, important event for the club. Do you have any information on that for this coming year that we can be able to add to our calendar and make sure it's well known about?
Yeah, so dates have been set in the calendar, but we are in a transition in terms of leadership of who's taking on the Fall Classic. So the few individuals that have chaired it the past few years are moving away from the municipality. So it is at a point right now where we're working to try and find an active member that would be willing to lead that program and see that through right now. So dates have been set, but you know, the team to see that through is still a work in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll recognize Councillor Wilson before clearing things up. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just going to do a little bit of storytelling here. I skated in the rink that was there prior to the curling club, or the new rink being built, and Kathy Shepherd did too. And when the current curling club rink was transitioned over, my daughter took the plexiglass out. She worked for the municipality and, you know, was there when the days of beginning the curling club. I was fortunate to skate on the ice, play hockey the night before they took the ice out to convert it into a curling club. So I have a lot of good memories there, a lot of old memories. I would really love to see the curling club exist the way it is. And I think I curl. I did not curl years ago, but I do now. And I think it's such a great asset and a great recreational facility to keep in our community. We have one of the best curling rinks around in Eastern Ontario with 5 ice surfaces. The ice is excellent. And I think that this community needs to get behind and promote the curling club. Let's get more members there and let's go get it. Good luck with it, Sean.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you.
I think it's clearly a very cherished and well-utilized facility. So the volunteer time and effort is immense. So a lot of dedication and hard work. And as a dad of a school-age parent who I'm sure you're eager to get home, we can certainly clue up this part of the presentation. And thank you for everything you put into making this facility such a success. And I know you have a great team and lots of people behind you, but we eagerly anticipate news of the Trillium Grant and certainly can nudge MPP Clark. It would be good, absolutely, for you to have a direct communication on behalf of all of your curlers, but we can certainly do the same on our end. And I'm optimistic with enough persistence, we'll get there. And it certainly would be an excellent boost, and I'm sure help to create the conditions for a very bright future for the curling club. So thanks so much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And council, just because we've been at this for a very long time, we're just going to take 5 minutes before we get to the rest of the agenda, but we are going to receive the report. All right. So mover and seconder, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Wilson, moving and seconding the receipt of the report from the curling club. All in favor? Good. Okay. Thank you so much. We're taking 5 minutes. All right, we're gonna attempt to reconvene, recognizing the hour is getting late. And I believe, Chloe, Ms. Preston, that we've just concluded our lengthy list of delegations. And we will now carry on with the rest of the meeting, see how far we get. So we'll go to the consent agenda next. As we know, items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine or no longer require further discussion and are enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is that a member may request that one or more items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. So, council colleagues, do you consent to the proposed consent agenda? If not, I'll look for any suggestions to pull an item. Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to pull the minutes from January 9th, just for clarification on an item in there. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay, January 9th, I believe, Ms. Preston, that makes sense to you, given what I see here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So if you don't mind making sure that we address that, I think under the next section. Okay. So I'll look for a mover and seconder then for the adoption of the amended consent agenda, please. Deputy Mayor, Councilor Sullivan, thank you. I will call a vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. All right, excellent. So then we'll go to section J, which is minutes of previous meeting, consent. In particular, Councilor Sullivan, we're looking to address the meeting minutes of January 9th. Is that right? Okay. And can you speak to the matter, please?
Certainly, thank you. In the agenda or minutes from January 9th, item 4, naloxone kits. I would just like to get an update on that about where they are in the public locations. Are they in the municipal center? Are they in some of the parks? Are they in South Gore Park? Where are they? And what public awareness plan is there, or is it out so that people know where they are and that they're available?
Ms. Preston?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So I will note that the minutes from January 9th note a significant resolution that rose from the Health, Wellness, and Fitness Active Transportation Advisory Committee. And the resolution was that council consider installing naloxone kits in public spaces. At that time, after council passed the resolution to consider installing, staff initiated through the Joint Health and Safety Committee, as well as the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Department, conversations with the insurance company and legal representation to ensure that by installing and providing council with a recommendation that we could come with a fulsome consideration. Staff intend to bring that report, in fact, next meeting, and that there will be a fulsome conversation about how that will be implemented if council should so choose, including the locations, any considerations, legal and insurance ramifications for council's full consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So we look forward to that additional information and that report. So with that, colleagues, we are moving on from minutes to reports, and Chief Oakham has been waiting ever so patiently to talk about.
Could we pass the minutes?
Oh, right, indeed. So we're passing that one set of minutes that was pulled. Okay, so Councilor Sullivan, are you willing to move adoption of those minutes? Okay, and a seconder, please, Councilor Strachian. And I will call the question. All in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you for that reminder. So back over to Chief Oakham, who's been waiting patiently to talk about the accredited Superior Tanker Shuttle Service. Chief Oakham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening to you and council. This evening's report is for information purposes only. It speaks to the Superior Tanker Shuttle Service here in North Grenville and the outcome of a recent assessment and testing conducted by the Fire Underwriter Survey. Next slide, please. Tanker shuttle service is not a subject often talked about here in North Grenville, so this evening I thought we would touch on it since we recently had an assessment and testing conducted of our fire service in regards to tanker shuttle accreditation. Superior Tanker Shuttle Services is a tactical operation that's a process, sorry, that's performed by the fire department that transports a supply of water via tanker trucks from a supply location to a fire location for suppression purposes. Fire hydrants connected to a municipal water distribution system are the primary source for water used for fire suppression. In areas where fire hydrants do not exist, the fire department must utilize large trucks designed to transport water to the location of need. More than one tanker truck is generally used, as one truck offloads its water supply at the fire location, while another tanker truck is being refilled to return to the site. Accreditation is where the fire department is assessed and tested in the process to meet minimum supply equivalency requirements for what a fire hydrant could supply. The assessment and testing is conducted by the Fire Underwriter Survey, which we also refer to as FUS, which is a national organization providing data on public fire protection for fire insurance underwriting purposes. Based on the assessment and testing, the FUS assigns a public fire protection grade for that fire department. If the fire department meets or exceeds the test requirements, they are accredited and the fire department is added to the Canadian Fire Insurance Grading Index. Next slide, please. In this slide, we illustrate a municipal fire hydrant supplied with pressurized water that is connected to a pumper truck, and the pumper truck then supplies firefighting hose lines with water. The Ontario Building Code sets requirements for building water supply for both domestic use and for fire protection purposes. In areas without municipal water supply, domestic water is generally supplied by private water wells, while water for fire protection is provided by the fire department utilizing tanker trucks. Or in some cases, the Ontario Building Code requires an owner to install and maintain a site water supply. Next slide. In this slide, we illustrate the firefighting tactics utilized in a non-hydranted area. This process is much more complex, with significantly more equipment, apparatus, and personnel required. Here we see a portable tank in place beside the pumper apparatus, and a tanker truck would back up to the portable tank, offload its water supply into the portable tank. The pumper truck would then have to draft the water from the static source and supply the firefighting hose. When the tanker truck is completed offloading its supply of water, it would leave and return to a water source to refill. Meanwhile, another tanker truck would back up and begin to offload its water supply in the portable tank. This process would continue so long as water was needed for firefighting purposes. Next slide, please. Being accredited in Superior Tank Shuttle Service is not a requirement for municipality to achieve. This is a service level approved by municipal council. Although it is not a requirement, accreditation as a Superior Tank Shuttle Service offers community benefits. North Grenville is added to the Canadian Fire Insurance Grading Index based on the grading achieved. Property owners seeking building insurance in a non-fire hydrant protection area would normally be classed as non-protected. If the property is within the maximum distance criteria, they may qualify for classification as protected, possibly yielding savings on their insurance. Next slide, please. A public fire protection classification grade is expressed in a scale of 1 to 10. A class 1 represents ideal or the highest level of public fire protection, while a class 10 reflects the absence of any effective public fire protection. The grading indicates how well a community is equipped to combat major fires expected to occur in a commercial, industrial, institutional, or multifamily residential property. North Grenville has achieved a grade 7 rating. A property that is within a qualifying road distance of 5 kilometers of a fire station and within 2.5 kilometers of a water filling site by road would qualify for the commercial line insurance. Next slide, please. The North Grenville Fire Service has also achieved a dwelling protection grade. The dwelling protection grade determines whether the fire department meets the necessary benchmarks to effectively fight fires in small buildings, such as 1 and 2 family dwellings. The grading here is numbered from 1 to 5. Class 1 represents exemplary fire protection, while Class 5 indicates that fire suppression program does not meet the minimum criteria to be recognized for fire insurance grading purposes. North Grenville has achieved a 3B rating. A property that is within a qualifying road distance of 8 kilometers of a fire station and is within 5 kilometers of a water filling site by road would qualify. Next slide, please. On April 29th, the fire protection specialist from the fire underwriters visited our offices where assessments were performed on many elements of fire protection services here in North Grenville. That same evening, the fire protection specialist attended a rural site where the fire department was tested in conducting a tanker shuttle operation, maintaining a continuous flow of water at a metered rate. On May 5th of this year, the fire protection specialist notified the fire chief that a complete evaluation of our assessment and our test was undertaken. North Grenville Fire Service was successful in achieving accreditation for the superior tanker shuttle service in our district. Accreditation is valued for 5 years and will end in May 2029. The accreditation is contingent upon maintaining our service delivery. At any time, the FUS may require us to demonstrate our capabilities. Next slide. This ends my presentation, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions council might have.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Chief Holcomb. Chief, first of all, congratulations on getting that accreditation. Kudos to you and the rest of the department. In non-urban areas or non-hydranted areas, it's a hard one. Certainly Oxford Mills is one of those. And I recall on a tour that you took us on the grounds of the Oxford on Rideau School, there's a bunch of pipes coming out of the ground. Is that to supply water for that area, for, to a tanker truck?
Yes, through yourself, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor. You're correct. There is a in-ground water tank at the school. That's property of the school. And that's a requirement under the building code for that type of occupancy to have a water supply available for firefighting purposes. So that tank, in fact, is for the school. We can use that tank for other purposes if we need, but it is specific to the school property.
And does that get inspected or accredited as well as providing superior tanker service? Or is that something that the school is responsible for checking?
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor, that is a code requirement for the school, the property owner, to undertake annual testing and inspections. The fire department does also do routine, usually annual inspections, just to ensure for pre-planning purposes that we know that it is available and ready for use at all times, but it is the building owner's responsibility.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking for hands. Can you tell me how many properties in North Grenville aren't serviced by a hydrant? Do you have the actual number? Is that too precise a question? I mean, obviously, given what you've said, the majority of North Grenville's properties, right, would obviously benefit from this particular achievement. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, we wouldn't have the number of properties readily available. That's data that we could probably find.
Mhm.
We have identified a geographic area that's unhydrated,
Yes.
but we don't have an account of number of dwellings or properties.
And so I understand that there's an insurance implication for this achievement for the homeowner, but does it also affect the municipality in terms of your planning or how you organize yourselves moving into the future?
For the municipality, because it's a level of service approved by council, we have to maintain that level of service.
Okay.
And in doing so, council may recall a couple years ago, I came forward with capital budget project to replace a tanker truck. With the accreditation under FUS rules, vehicles have to be maintained, personnel levels have to be maintained, our training has to be maintained. So they look at many, many factors in order to achieve our accreditation. So it's not just physically transporting the water and being tested. We have to have a pretty thorough fire prevention program and fire suppression program.
Right, because what I see in the report is basically through this service level, properties are treated similar to those where there are hydrants to respond in the event of a fire, correct?
That's correct.
It allows for a similar comparison, if you will, for an insurance company in particular.
That's correct.
Right, and that standard within the municipality of North Grenville has been in place for?
It's been in place for a number of years. Reaccreditation is every 5 years. So this is the second time since I've been with North Grenville that we've been reaccredited, but it has been in place prior to me.
Gotcha. So it's a service level that's been in place for quite a while, we assume.
Yes, that's
Until now.
correct.
Yeah, okay. And just one other quick question. I know it's been a long night, but are we typical or atypical for having this level of service, right? Given how large our rural, the rural parts of North Grenville are. Is it very typical that a community like ours would have this accreditation, or is it less common?
Accreditation is somewhat common, but the size of North Grenville with our geographic landscape and the number of properties that we do protect, I would say it's common.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's something that one would expect of a municipality like ours in this day and age.
I think a lot of our community members are unaware of this until they speak to their insurance company. And the insurance company will ask whether they're protected or non-protected.
Okay.
And then by us sharing that we're accredited, we do supply the certificates online, our municipal website, and insurance companies can download that certificate and review for possible insurance savings.
For possible.
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's good to know because often some of our rural residents don't feel as well served. Obviously, they don't necessarily benefit, in quotes, from some of the other services maybe provided in urban areas, but clearly a lot of effort goes into achieving this accreditation, which can be of financial benefit and of course, peace of mind for any rural resident, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. It sounds like a big effort. We appreciate all of the lead up and vigilance to making this possible. Do we just have one pumper truck? Just remind me.
No, we have 2 pumper trucks. We have 2 tankers.
2 tankers. I'm mixing up the terminology.
Yes.
And it's the tankers that are very crucial to this accreditation. Is that right?
Tankers are crucial. The pumpers are also crucial because we have to meet standards to be able to pump the water that we receive.
So when you send out a fire truck into a rural area, which truck goes first?
We would respond with a pumper truck and personnel, and
Okay.
followed by tanker trucks.
Okay, so the tanker supplies the water and the pumper trucks are pumping the water. Is that it?
You got it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, so I think, Ms. Preston, we're receiving this report just for information, correct? So who would like to move that? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Sullivan, great. And I will call the question. All in favor, please? Good. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us this evening, Chief Oakham, and look forward to hearing more in the coming months. So next we're going to Mr. Guy, and he's going to build on the report that we just received from the curling club in regards to the lease extension. I'm going to receive Mr. Guy's report first, or we're going to hear from Mr. Guy on the lease extension. And then Councillor Sullivan, you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just would, I feel I should declare a conflict of interest. I am a member of the North Grenville Curling Club, and just, it's a perceived conflict of interest. So I will leave. You can call me back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because I am a member also, I will.
Okay. And just we're clear, when we received the advice from Mr. Fleming in regards to conflict, it was pertained to having a membership in a club or organization where there might be financial benefit, not to you as individuals, but to the organization in question. It is not necessary for you to leave. So that is at your discretion. You certainly can leave. It's more about casting a vote at the time of the lease. I have that right? At the time of the approval of the lease.
It speaks through you, Madam Mayor. It speaks to the participation in any of the discussion around the potential vote and the any vote itself.
That's right. I do remember that now. So it's any participation in the discussion as well as the vote. But it is at the discretion of council colleagues if they wish to leave the room, correct?
That is correct. They have every right to leave the room should they wish. The only legislated requirement is if there is a conflict of interest declared during closed, a member must leave during a
Indeed.
closed session.
Okay. All right. So with that, we'll go over to Mr. Guy, and there will be only 3 council members participating in this discussion. Thank God there are 3 of us who aren't members of the curling club at this stage. Okay. All right. So Mr. Guy, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just waiting for here's the presentation. So as you heard earlier through the curling club presentation, this is a 5-year lease extension agreement report that I will be speaking to. And for your information, myself and Joe Peshnik had numerous conversations, a couple of meetings, and lots of emails back and forth with the curling club executive. So the lease extension and the amendments to it are certainly were a collaborative effort between our staff here as well as the curling club executive. You can, next slide, please, Chloe. So just some background. The North Grenville Curling Club has been operational since September of 2005. The lease agreement with the municipality has been renewed in 5-year intervals, and the current 5-year lease expires on May 31st. As mentioned, we've been in discussions with the curling club executive on the new agreement, and there are 5 amendments that will be made or have been made to the current agreement. So the first one is 3.01 rent payment insurance premium. Currently, the North Grenville Curling Club pays for the municipality's building liability insurance premium. The amendment is this fee would be waived beginning in year 2 of the lease, 2025, to an upset limit of $20,000. So in 2023, the costs were $23,801.04. The amendment would be that the curling club executive would be responsible for $3,801.04 if this amendment is passed. Second amendment, 3.01 rent payment maintenance. The municipality will create a maintenance line item in the Parks, Recreation, and Culture budget of $10,000 to cover costs of items that require immediate maintenance or repair. This will begin in year 2, 2025 of the lease agreement. Some examples of this maintenance line could be exterior lighting that needs to be improved or replaced, eaves troughs repairs, lobby heaters, roof leaks, or service calls from plumbers, electricians, etc. Next slide, please, Chloe. Number 3, 3.03 Capital Reserve Fund. As per the current lease agreement, the North Grenville Curling Club contributes $10,000 annually to the Capital Reserve Fund. The amendment would see the North Grenville Curling Club and the municipality would both contribute $20,000 annually to the North Grenville Curling Club Capital Reserve Fund. This would assist in meeting the needs of the asset management program and future capital works. I will make note that the curling club has been contributing $20,000 annually, I want to say for 2 years, the last 2 years, Sean? 3? 2 or 3. And the municipality has contributed $20,000 in 2021 and 2023 through the annual budget process. We did not contribute $20,000 in 2022 as the curling club received a community grant. That was mentioned earlier by Sean in his presentation. Number 4, 5.05 repairs. The amendment is to add the landlord will keep catch basins and emergency exits clear of snow piles. And number 5, 8.12 notice, we're just adding the following emails will be added to the lease agreement, the North Grenville Curling Club email and the email of the Parks and Recreation Director. So to complete my report, the recommendation from staff is to extend the current 5-year lease agreement with the North Grenville Curling Club beginning June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2029, with the option to extend for an additional 5-year term commencing on June 1st, 2029. And I will add the suggested recommended amendments to the lease agreement would increase the municipality's contribution to the curling club to $50,000 per year. $20,000 would go to the capital reserve fund. The waiving of the liability insurance would be $20,000, and the maintenance line item would be $10,000. The maintenance line item, those expenses would be agreed upon between staff and the curling club executive. It does not mean that that $10,000 may be spent annually each year. It would depend on what the repairs are and what the items are. I certainly think for the long-term sustainability of the curling club, this investment from the municipality makes a lot of sense considering it's a volunteer-run organization and it's been run very well since 2005, and it makes smart business sense for us to support their efforts to continue to make the curling club grow and expand and be successful. Thank you, and that ends my report.
Okay, great. Questions, colleagues? It's 2 colleagues, Councilor Strachan, Deputy Mayor Barkley. My only question is there currently a delineation between exterior and interior maintenance in terms of how the municipality understands its commitments to the maintenance of the building, given that it is our building that is leased to the curling club? So I don't know previously if there was any clarity. I can see what the adjustments are to take care of some of that exterior, right, work. But do we have clarity as an organization about where our obligations sort of start and finish, if you will?
Thanks for the question, Madam Mayor. It's always been the curling club is 100% responsible for all expenses related to the curling club operations. The suggestion was that they would appreciate the municipality taking on some maintenance line items to assist them in, having a little bit more money in their own pockets to do things that they want to do. Some of those improvements that they talk about with the $10,000 and that the municipality would be taking over in some items, and as well as the $20,000 are, potential carpet replacement down the road. They'd like to update their kitchen equipment, countertops, things like that. So that $30,000 that they can keep in their bank account would assist them in making some of those improvements. I think to the point of your question more, the $10,000 I think we'll see is a bit of a work in progress. The curling club would be bringing invoices or items back to myself and Mr. Peshnik, and then we would discuss whether we feel they're a fit with respect to the $10,000 that we will put in a line item. So I think I would, once we go through a year, to have a better idea to tell you what those items look like and what the responsibilities are.
Okay. And certainly I'm asking the question because I do think to some extent it is a shared responsibility because it is our asset. And while I think the curling club has carried much of the building for a number of years now, if not decades, I guess, probably when you think about things like a roof, right, or some of that exterior building work, it would be surprising that apart from some of the other equipment obligations that the curling club would be able to manage those expenses by themselves.
Yeah, and I would, another thing I would mention is the municipality never contributed to the capital reserve fund.
Right.
So we're now contributing $20,000 per
Gotcha.
year, or that's the recommendation.
Yes.
So that $20,000 a year will go towards if there happen to be a roof replacement, if the chiller needs to be replaced, if the compressor needs to be replaced. So those are where the municipality can step in and assist with those larger type of capital replacement items.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that reminder. Appreciate it. All right, council colleagues, anything else? And I assume that the terms of this lease have been discussed with the curling club and there's a general degree of satisfaction.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, it was a collaborative effort. They brought these suggested changes to myself and we had a discussion about it and we felt supportive of their suggested changes to the agreement.
Okay. All right, so seeing no hands, I'm going to call a question on, sorry, I'll get the language. That council approved the North Grenville Curling Club lease extension for 5 years, commencing on June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2029. I'll need a mover and a seconder, Councilor Strachan, Deputy Mayor, and I'll call the vote. All in favor, please. Good, carries, thank you. Okay, getting a little bit closer to the end. Thank you again to the Curling Club for their presentation and presence this evening. We'll go to Public Works, please. Mr. Finley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me. So tonight's proposal for council is to award the request for proposals for the servicing master plan update. And this is in regards to our water and wastewater infrastructure. And again, the purpose is to award to JL Richards and Associates in the amount of $149,839, excluding applicable taxes. Next slide, please. So for a bit of background, the Water and Sewer Master Plan is a strategic document that is used for the municipality to invest in water and sewer infrastructure. The last report was completed in 2015, presented to council in early 2016. So it has been a little while. We are due for an update to acknowledge the changes in growth that have occurred since the 2015 plan and to recognize those changes. Some of the highlights of what this master plan will include is, of course, we do have new growth projections. So we will take those into account for determining development for both short and long term to help with determine the short-term and long-term development pressures. And of course, this will identify infrastructure needs to support that growth. We will also look at the capacity of our wastewater collection system, including a number of specific items, such as the 3 siphons that transfer waste from the south side to the north side of the Kempville Creek. As well, we will look at the feasibility of servicing the urban area. It does say easy up there, meant to say east of the Highway 416, and of course on County Road 19, south of County Road 43. These are some different challenging areas that we will focus on to see how these can be serviced and allowed to be developed on municipal services. So there's a number of critical development areas. Of course, the siphons will help with development on the southern area of the serviced area. And of course, this will all ultimately come with cost estimates for the capital projects and identify overall life cycle costs to help guide some of our additional planning documents, such as development charges and projects like that. Next slide, please. So we released a request for proposal in February and it closed in April. We did have 2 submissions, one from JL Richards and Associates and another one from Stantec Consulting. Both were very strong with their applications. Both consultants are very capable of completing this. They've both done a number of servicing master plans, with Stantec completing the last 2 master plans in 2005 and 2015 with the municipality, but also with a number of other municipalities in the area, as well as JL Richards have done master plans with a number of municipalities in the area that were confirmed. But next slide, please. So the water and wastewater operational budget had allocated $100,000 for this master plan update, $50,000 from the water side and $50,000 from the wastewater side. The servicing master plan was identified as one of the initiatives through the Housing Accelerator funding application that we were successful in receiving. Again, that Housing Accelerator fund was just over $5.2 million that was awarded to the municipality. So we are looking for the piece between that $100,000 and JL Richards' proposal, the $49,839 to come from the Housing Accelerator Fund to ensure that this project moves forward, as well as part of those initiatives was the outcomes of the master plan would also be incorporated into that Housing Accelerator Fund. Next slide, please. So that is the conclusion that we recommend approving to JL Richards and Associates to complete the servicing master plan. And it is anticipated, if awarded, that it would be completed the first quarter of 2025. And I am happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Finley. I note in the report that the delivery of the report won't happen until Q1 of 2025. I'm wondering, is there any information we can glean from JL Richards that might inform our budget deliberations for 2025? It seems like it's maybe coming a quarter too late. Also, to inform our impending background study for development charges, can we glean anything from the work that they're doing before they deliver the final report? Is my question.
So through you, Madam Mayor, that is the anticipation that once the contract is awarded, we will work out a plan to have some draft recommendations or draft potential items to help feed that development charge study earlier in the year. It just won't be the final public report. But we do anticipate that we can get a sense of what some of the capital costs are going to be to help with the development charges. And as well, we'll look to see, since these will be a bit higher level items that we don't anticipate to uptake in 2025's budget. We already have some of our work plan proposed for that. We will make sure that it does outline a couple of different timeframes, such as the 0 to 5 year plan of in that timeframe what infrastructure upgrades should be looked at. So it won't be specific every year, but it'll look at development areas, growth timelines, 0 to 5, 5 to 10 year and 10 to 20 year outlooks, as well as full build out of some of this infrastructure. So it won't be year specific, but groupings of years.
Sorry about that. So specifically, one of the things that this report's going to look at is the siphons that go underneath the Kempville Creek, and as a means of, I guess, facilitating infill and intensification in that part of Old Town, south of the river. If that's something that they're looking at, would they not have a D-class estimate at some point that we could consider for the 2025 budget? But I imagine things have to happen in a specific schedule. I'm answering your question, my question here, but I'm just wondering how we cannot lose a year in terms of the infrastructure that we have to build as a result of the report.
So through you, Madam Mayor, we can definitely work with them to, we know that's an area of focus, the siphons, so we can discuss with JL Richards about trying to push that one topic ahead of schedule or ahead of the final report, just so it can help feed into our planning. But yes, that is the intent, is that they will look at the existing, consider their life cycle, as well as the collection areas that they will have, and if they need to be expanded or increased in size, replaced, what the optimal location for that is, if it's directly where it is now, if there's alternate locations to look at, so that it is a bit of a robust exercise to ensure we're doing the proper replacement when that time comes. But yes, we can focus in on trying to narrow that costing.
Great. My question is, we allocated 100,000. Both bidders were significantly over. Did we underestimate? So I understand that you're asking for the $50,000 in overage to come from the Housing Accelerator Fund. Is the remaining portion embedded in the budget and not from the Accelerator Fund? Did I get that right?
That is correct, Madam Mayor. The 100,000 is embedded in our budget, and then the extra just under, or 49,000 is part of the Housing Accelerator Fund.
So the Housing Accelerator Fund has that room in it to
Correct.
accommodate this request?
It was part of the initiatives, this program. So yes, we did consider that.
Okay, so but it's only the 50K that you're drawing from the Accelerator Fund, do I?
Correct.
Okay, to accommodate the overage. And
Correct.
and once again, when you put in the budget for 100,000, did you expect the organizations that bid on this to be significantly over 100?
No, we were low in our estimations of what the overall project. Although because of the Housing Accelerator Fund and some of the initiatives that were in there, we did add some specifics to it that we probably wouldn't have done in the initial master plan. But since we had some of that funds available, we added more work into the proposal. So that probably did account for some of that additional cost for the overall project.
That's what I was trying to figure out. So you've added to the scope of the project
Correct.
from what you had initially budgeted for.
Correct.
Okay, so that makes sense to me now. And of course, the Housing Accelerator Fund, the parameters allow for use of some of these funds to support the servicing master plan.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. It was a direct initiative,
Yes.
one of the initiatives of the application, as well as provide funding for some of the outcomes of the master plan. So it'll be a continuation. There will be, once we have some outcomes and some potential project costs there, we can use the Housing Accelerator Fund for that, those initiatives.
Right, though I expect some of that may come back to council before it's activated.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Okay, great. Thank you. And can I just, my only other question is, why, is it typical that we would do one of these servicing master plans every decade? Or should we have done one in 5 years after you referenced the 2014 study, if I'm not mistaken?
Correct, Madam Mayor. Typically, we try and look for every 5 years.
Okay.
The last one was done 2015, finalized, I guess, January of 2016.
Right.
So I think between COVID and the timelines we were in there, it got pushed out a little bit.
Okay.
But yes, typically it's every 5 years is what we should be looking for.
And given the growth in the community, I would expect that you'd want to stay on track with that every 5-year mark. Is that right?
Correct. With the way we're growing, just to ensure that we're still having the proper outlook and our infrastructure can support that growth. Yes, every 5 years should stay on track.
Okay. And some of that multi-residential, some of that possibility and active planning applications for multi-residential in the downtown core, would that be contemplated in this servicing master plan, or have we already contemplated impacts on water and sewer? I know the developer is being asked in a couple of cases, developers, to better understand and articulate to the municipality what is required to properly service some larger residential developments. Can you just speak to how this study may or may not impact those conversations?
For sure, Madam Mayor. So the this master plan will help directly guide those conversations, and that's the intent
Right.
is, it'll look at that intensification, because previously we didn't, they're becoming more intensified and the number of units and their impact that wasn't initially contemplated in the previous master plan. So that is, again, where we brought up the siphons and that process was take those collection areas, understand what new types of intensification we are seeing and what are those impacts. So that is the intent that this will be a guiding document for those infills that are highly intensified beyond what was previously contemplated.
And thank you, Council, very much for indulging me. I just have one last question. With 2 active planning applications from significant multi-residential rental in our downtown core, where we've asked the developer to provide information on impacts to water and sewer infrastructure, is our timing right? Because are we going to provide a additional sort of verification to what the developer is paying an engineer to look at on our behalf? Like, how does that relationship work?
So there's 2 sides to that, Madam Mayor, that this will help. So the developers will move forward on their impacts
Right.
to the collection facility itself. What we will look at is the more global. So from what we can see from what their engineers have provided is their development is there's capacity in the facilities for their development at the moment. Now, if a 3rd, 4th, 5th come online, that's what this master plan will look at. Okay, what we have now and what the global picture looks like. When do we potentially need to do some upgrades? So again, it's looking forward at new developers and which ones can be accommodated and where our limitations are going to be.
Okay. So where applications are in the system and information is being provided and obviously is vetted and assessed internally, independent of the application by the developer, you have some confidence that you're looking at the longer term impacts of higher usage or demand on our existing infrastructure. That's really the intention with the master plan.
That's correct,
Okay.
yes. As well as what future upgrades or further into the service area we need to go as development comes forward. But yes, that's the intent.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions, colleagues? Not seeing any. So I'm going to go to the recommendation. Looking for a mover and seconder that council approve the awarding of RPNG 2401 Servicing Master Plan update to Jail Richards and Associates in the amount of $149,839 excluding applicable taxes. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Wilson, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Any final questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, nearing the end here. Correspondence, significant resolutions. Are we dealing with that? That's a consent item. Okay, excellent. Other business? I do not believe there is any this evening. Notice motion from Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the recommendation is that whereas the municipality of North Grenville Municipal Center supports a number of hockey teams, including being home to the Kemptville 73s Canadian Junior A hockey team and the Kemptville District Minor Hockey Association. And whereas the Kemptville Storm Girls Hockey will be celebrating their 30th season. And whereas registration for minor hockey increases year over year, and whereas there is an increasing demand for spectator seats as support and attendance at hockey games at North Grenville Municipal Center rises, and whereas the municipality of North Grenville currently only has spectator seats in the form of cement tiered seating, which provides challenges in the form of comfort, support, and climate control for spectators. And now, therefore, be it resolved that council direct the Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture to report back to council in the month of August on the costs associated with acquiring and installing up to 500 seats in Arena 1 in the North Grenville Municipal Center as a capital project for 2025. With additional consideration for a cost-sharing fundraising program that could be developed for the fall of 2024 to help offset the significant capital project and showcase the community support for hockey spectatorship in North Grenville.
Great. Ms. President, just remind me, notice of motion, so we can discuss the substance of the motion this evening?
Absolutely, but we would need a seconder.
Okay, so Councillor O'Sullivan has moved. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilson? Okay, great. All right, so any comments or questions at this stage? I'll only comment that I believe Ms. Dunlop has suggested, and then I'll recognize Councillor Wilson, that the internal leadership for this may be up for some discussion in terms of particular capacity concerns within Parks and Rec, but that there may be other options for the staff leadership in terms of the initiative. So I think maybe we take that into account, Councillor O'Sullivan, and not direct a particular individual, but just direct staff, and that'll give Ms. Dunlop latitude to work with Parks and Rec and kind of figure out how best the initiative can be enabled if it passes. Have I correctly stated that? Okay, so Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Mayor Beckford.
It's a miracle they're working at all at this stage. All right. Go ahead.
I seconded the motion, but there's just a little bit of wording in here that I think could be changed.
Sure.
It's
Go
just not a hockey venue. It's a venue for all spectators of different things, whether it be boss tie, whether it be figure skating, whether it be any other events. So I think it needs to be a broader wording. So anyways, just a comment.
Certainly, and maybe Councillor Sullivan, to that end, we could say, whereas the municipality of North Grenville Municipal Center supports a number of key events, and then you could include references to various hockey associations, but we could go beyond that. If that would give you some comfort, Councillor Wilson? Yes, okay, and it is a four-season venue, to your point, so there are obviously other times when those seats are used. Any other comments? Not seeing any? Okay. So if we can amend the wording, Chloe, in terms of referring to not the generic language of hockey teams, but events in the first whereas clause?
Yes, absolutely. Could someone repeat the second item that was said? Did you say box tie?
It's just to refer to other key events in the community, which would include the Kempville Figure Skating Club and Boss Tie. Mixed martial arts. I think you were just suggesting other uses, right? Okay, well done. I think that's duly noted. Anything else in terms of the contents of the motion? I'm not seeing anything, and that first edit, of course, was to direct staff, not a particular director. Okay. Yes. Mr. Guy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's certainly been a topic of discussion between myself and Councillor Sullivan for a few years, and I don't disagree that having individual seating in Arena 1 would be very comforting and an upgrade to go along with the railings that are getting installed. I think that the timing of August just makes it a little bit difficult, just based on the workload and what's going on right now. Certainly, when staff and SMT start our 2025 preliminary budget discussions, and we do our work on getting draft estimates for some of the capital works we want to do, an estimate for the seating at that time would not be a problem for staff to come up with and provide an estimate in a draft budget that council can review and take a look at. Typically, that's September, October, probably closer to October that we would start doing that work. And at that time, there would be no issue in bringing a number forward.
Certainly, I think part of the intention of the motion, if I'm not mistaken, in my conversation with Councillor Sullivan, was to leverage some of the anniversary seasons, if you will. So less about having a precise number in terms of the capital expenditures, but more getting the community excited about being a partner, a financial partner, and individuals and families who've used the arena extensively, whether it's for figure skating or other events, and getting that momentum going prior to, say, mid to late fall. So I think that was the intention of the timing.
Would we be, based on your comment, so you'd be looking at not necessarily having the seats in place by then, but potentially having people interested or organizations interested in donating?
That's right. It could be a phased implementation of the seats. I'll defer to Councillor Sullivan. I think it was really leveraging the strong appetite and goodwill in the community to get the ball rolling on the fundraising campaign. Of course, once you have that information around the expenditures, both in terms of acquisition of seats and labor, I think you could come back to us with a implementation plan. But we would love to seize the opportunity to get some community dollars through individual donors and organizational donors going. Councillor O'Sullivan, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you, if I may. I think to tag on to the 30th anniversary of the storm in Kemptville would be an opportunity that we should grab hold of as the hockey season begins in September. And so if we could start a fundraising and get the momentum going at that time, I think that would be a good idea. And I don't know if that's something that the finance department would be responsible for organizing. The other thing, I realize there's a procurement process that needs to be followed and RFPs, et cetera. But when Councillor Wilson and I were attending the Parks Recreation Ontario conference in April, we did speak with a supplier from Elmont who is relatively local, who did say that he would do a site visit and provide a quote. So obviously we need to follow the process for procurement, but it sounded like that would be an opportunity that we could take advantage of. So anyway, as you said, we've been talking about this since 2019. So the sooner we can get moving on it. And I was anticipating that the seats would be in place in 2025, not before the end of this year. Although I wish.
Yeah, and I think that's important with your fundraising marketing campaign is, depending on how it's set up, would we want to, be able to show groups and organizations exactly what we are purchasing? And to do that, we would need some pricing, some estimates, and a proper procurement to go through that process.
Yes, indeed. So Deputy Mayor and then Ms. Dunlop, is that right? Okay.
I appreciate why Councillor O'Sullivan has suggested that the report comes back in August, but if it's a question of timing, I don't see why the community couldn't get behind a fundraising campaign to raise money for seats in the arena without knowing exactly what kind of seats they are or what the total cost would be. And it might help in terms of budget deliberations in the fall, in September, October, to know how much money has been raised to date. And then, so I wouldn't tie the fundraising necessarily with the delivery of the report. That's my opinion.
Good observation. And Ms. Dunlop?
And thank you, Your Worship. And it's in regards to the actual fundraising or intent of what we're looking at. Are we looking like the theater seats here in this room? Are we looking to put name tags on them for donations, or are we looking for just donations towards the program? And then I think that once the summer program is over, we will have a little more time to be able to dedicate to this and make sure that we're doing it right. So that would be the question in regards to the intent of the fundraising. Are we putting names on these chairs, or are they donations towards chairs? So I think that's an important component to think based on the timelines and workload.
Sounds good. I mean, I think this is largely an intellectual exercise at this point to contemplate, right, the architecture for, it's too big a word, to contemplate the framework, right, for a fundraising program that potentially is a cost-sharing initiative. I think from that perspective, there's a lot of pent-up demand for the seats. I have no doubt that there are individuals and families that wish to commemorate a loved one, a rising star, in the community, and they would do that through the purchase of a seat. I agree we need some information. I don't know if we need all the information. So I'm wondering if we could at least ask for an interim report so that we can start down that path well before the fall. I note that the Kemptville Skating Club celebrates its 1970 to 2025 is 55 years, right? 55 years. So they mark a 55th anniversary next year. So I think we are just looking for the framework for a program that would allow the community to rally behind the initiative. So I think perhaps we're saying August. If it's not achievable, then I think you can come back to us and let us know if it feels insurmountable. But perhaps we can set that as a bit of a stretch goal and see how we get. Understanding that if other things come up or there's too many complexities or unanswered questions, we'll acknowledge that at the time. But I think this was just a way to create some momentum, but truly to ensure that the community has that opportunity to make a contribution. Okay. So I believe, Ms. Preston, you have revised wording. Bless you. Go for it.
Bear with me, Madam Mayor. The revised wording, as I have so recorded.
I think you've done a great job.
Whereas the municipality of North Grenville Municipal Center supports a number of key events, including hockey, figure skating, and mixed martial arts within the municipality, including a variety of sports associations. And whereas the Kemptville Storm Girls Hockey will be celebrating their 30th season. And whereas the registration for minor hockey and other sports groups increase year over year. And whereas there is an increasing demand for spectator seats as support and attendance at events at the North Grenville Municipal Center rise. And whereas the municipality of North Grenville currently only has spectator seats in the form of cement tiered seating, which provides challenges in the form of comfort, support, and climate control for spectators. And now therefore be it resolved that the council directs staff to report back to council in the month of August on the costs associated with acquiring and installing up to 500 seats in Arena 1 in the North Grenville Municipal Center as a capital project for 2025, with additional consideration for a cost-sharing fundraising program that could be developed for fall 2024 to help offset the significant capital project and showcase the community support for event spectatorship in North Grenville.
I think you've done a beautiful job. All right. Okay, any last comments or questions? 9:57 PM. Yes, Councillor Sullivan.
I think I would like to see you keep in the line item that says we're home to the Kemptville 73s Canadian Junior A hockey team. And otherwise, I would move this motion as amended.
Okay. I think you're accepting friendly amendments. And who was our seconder? Councillor Wilson. Councillor Wilson, are you good with those amendments? Okay, great. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I think we've captured that. Ms. Preston, can I call a question? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Good, okay. Thank you. I think that reflects our last substantive item for the evening. If we can just get through these last pieces. Introduction and consideration of bylaws. We've done that. Period of questions from the public. We have one member of the public, Councillor Strachan. I think there's one member this evening. All right. Thank you for being here, Mabel. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being a rising star and a role model and a user of our municipal space. Okay. And we'll go to a period of questions. We have no media here, so I'm moving on. Close of meeting confirmation bylaw. Recommendation is that bylaw 4224 to confirm proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on May 21st, 2024 be adopted and passed. Mover and seconder, Councillor Strachan and Councillor Wilson, calling the question, all in favor. Motion to, calling the question, all in favor. We've carried that, and motion to adjourn this regular meeting of council at 9:59 PM. Councillor Sullivan, Deputy Mayor, please. Thank you. Calling the question, all in favor, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.